Okay, Dr. Emily Wheeler here. I'm really excited to go over this concept today when one glass feels like four. So, I have a story to tell you. A few years ago, I took a girls' trip. This is all my girls from college. We went to California, we went to LA because we hadn't seen each other in probably like a decade since we had kids. We were ready, the kids had babysitters, and we were California bound. Now, I have to give you some context here. In college, I was that friend. I was the one who was in bed by 9. I was the one who just couldn't tolerate drinking alcohol. I was the one with the ginger ale. Everyone else was still going till 2 a.m. That just wasn't me. I was not a big drinker, partly just by choice, but honestly, partly because my body just couldn't handle it very well. So one night out, and I'd be flattened for a whole day, and it was exhausting, I tell you, in the most unfair way, but it is what it was. So before this trip, I knew I wanted to get a little bit of a buzz with my girlfriends. Like, who doesn't? You're going out with your girls? You want to have a glass? I'm not talking drunk here. I'm talking a little bit of a buzz, a little tipsiness, right? So before this trip, I did something different. I came prepared. I changed my degree since I've seen them. So my girls, I went to school for meteorology, and that's when I knew them in Oklahoma. And we went out. And now here I was, totally different aspect on life. I'm a totally different career change, functional medicine, practicing functional medicine at this point, and I wanted to come prepared. So I had been deep in research at that time about a process called methylation, something that I'll explain in a minute, and I decided to run a little experiment on myself. I started a specific nutrient protocol a couple days before the trip, and I kept it up the entire time I was there. Day 1, I had a margarita. I felt nothing. Day 2, 2 margaritas, a mojito, still nothing. Normally, I'd get a little bit tipsy. Okay, I was wasting my money. Day 3, same thing. I was having these drinks, and my girls were telling me, Emily, yes, there's tequila in there. There is something in there. I'm like, I am not feeling this. Is there anything in here? Yes, there was, but I wasn't feeling it because I was processing it better than I'd ever processed alcohol before. Now, I want to be really clear about something. This is not a story about being able to drink more, okay? And it's definitely not a story about a magic protocol that works for everyone. What it is, it's a story about what I learned when I actually looked at why my body struggled with alcohol in the first place. Because once I understood the why, the rest started making a lot of sense. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So here's what I want to ask you. Have you ever had just one glass of wine, maybe two, and felt absolutely terrible the next morning? Or maybe the same night, maybe you had flushed cheeks, your heart was racing, terrible sleep, maybe a headache that showed up before you even finished the glass, and maybe you looked up and around and you thought, oh my gosh, everyone else is fine, but why am I so sensitive with these things? Or maybe it's changed. Maybe you used to be totally fine with a glass or two, and somewhere in your 40s, something shifted. Now that same glass hits differently. You wake up at 3 in the morning, wired and anxious, you're puffy, your head is foggy, you feel like you aged 10 years overnight. You're not imagining it, and you're not broken. What's actually happening is your body is giving you very clear data. And today, I want to help you read it. So, let's talk about what alcohol actually does inside of your body, the science, because I think this part gets skipped a lot. When you drink, your liver has a job to do. It has to take the alcohol and break it down through a 2-step process. Step 1, alcohol gets converted into something called acetaldehyde. And here's what you need to know about acetaldehyde. It is toxic. It is actually what causes a lot of the symptoms people struggle with and they associate with when drinking too much. Okay, the flushing of the face, the headaches, the racing heart, the nausea. That's not the alcohol doing it, guys. This is this intermediate compound that your body is creating while it's trying to process it called acetaldehyde. It is a toxin. Step 2, that acetaldehyde gets converted into something called acetate, okay, which is a much more harmless form metabolite, and your body clears it pretty well. So we have this 2-step process. The whole game is this. How efficiently can you move through step 1 in step 2? How efficient can you do it? And the answer depends on a lot of things. It depends on your genetics. It depends on your nutrient status, your liver load at the moment, whether you have a lot of medications in you, whether you have fatty liver, whether you are struggling with liver just stress in general, whether you have what I call competing burdens. So when I say competing burdens, I think like things like that are competing for things that can make you worse, like histamine, environmental exposures, stress hormones, all the things that are working through the same pathways that are competing for that process at the same time. So when the system gets backed up, that toxic acetaldehyde lingers and you feel that toxin, okay? Now, here's what I want to introduce next. It's a word that sounds complicated. You might have heard about it before, but it's actually a pretty straightforward word once you see the big picture, and that is methylation. So methylation is basically your body's master housekeeping process. It's happening billions of times every second in every cell. It helps your body make neurotransmitters, regulate hormones, repair DNA, process toxins, and clear histamine. It's involved in just about everything, and 80% of methylation happens in your liver. Your liver is super important when it comes to methylation. And alcohol stresses it out. Alcohol stresses methylation. So when you drink, you're asking your liver and your methylation pathways to work harder. You're pulling the same nutrient reserves that your body uses for everything else. The B vitamins, especially B12 and folate, which is B9. You're using magnesium, minerals like molybdenum. These are all getting mobilized when your body is trying to process alcohol. And if your reserves are already running low, which they often are in women over 40 who are managing stress, perimenopause, sleep disruption, and 100 other things, there's not much in that tank to pull from. So here's the analogy I like to use with my patients. Imagine your liver is a highway. Alcohol is the traffic on that highway. On a clear day with no congestion, traffic moves. But if there's already congestion, construction, a lane closure, an accident, traffic backs up. Everything slows down and you feel the jam. You feel that traffic jam. Your nutrient reserves are what kept that lane open. They're also known as cofactors. They're things that let that pathway flow through and fast and good. There's another piece to this that I think is really underappreciated, and I see it constantly. This is something that I love to study, and it's called histamine. This is very interconnected with alcohol metabolism. And you might have heard of histamine in the context of allergies, but histamine is also produced when you drink alcohol. And certain types of alcohol, like beer, wine, especially champagne, already contain histamine before your body even processes it. So your body's making this histamine, and then also you're drinking the histamine. It's an overload storm. It is a volcano that is erupting with lava in your body. And we got to clear that lava out. Your body has an enzyme called DAO. This is your lava cleaner, okay? DAO is an acronym for diamine oxidase, whose job is to break down the histamine in your body, specifically in your gut. Think of it as a vacuum cleaner. It's supposed to keep histamine levels from getting way too high, getting that bucket filled up way too much. We don't want a histamine bucket filling up. We want it nice and low. But a few things can compromise that vacuum cleaner. Gut issues, microbiome disruption, infections, food sensitivities, toxins, mold exposure, so many different things. Certain medications can impact it, stress, nutrient deficiencies, and yes, alcohol itself can suppress DAO activity to begin with. We need that vacuum cleaner to clean it out, and there's so many things that are causing that vacuum cleaner to go away and hide in the closet. We need to pull it out of the closet so we can use it to clean up our lava, okay? So histamine builds up like lava in that volcano, and histamine symptoms are really sneaky. They look like headaches, a flushed face, racing heart, sinus issues, sinus pressure, runny nose, itchy skin, waking up at 3 a.m, not being able to go back to sleep, anxiety. It expresses itself on so many systems of the body that it's very hard for the modern medical model and the practitioners out in the modern medical model world to actually identify it, because people are specialist shopping. They're hopping from doctor to doctor, from different specialist to different specialist. And you don't have a big picture view if that's only who you're going to see. So this is where functional practitioners, or those who really specialize in histamine intolerance, are very gifted, because looking at all these different things and really identifying the patterns that are really causing those symptoms to be, and those systems to be irritated, that's important to look at. It's hard to identify. So a lot of women, especially in perimenopause, when estrogen fluctuates, it also drives histamine. This is another piece of why we layer it in. Not only are we dealing with food and stress and medications, now we're dealing with hormones, hormone fluctuations. And this is what happens, especially when we go through perimenopause. We are very volatile, and that volatile hormone change can impact that histamine layer. And now one day you're reacting to wine, the next day you're tolerating it, then the next day you're reacting. It is totally inconsistent because things are fluctuating. So let's get back to California. I digress. What I did before and during that trip was really specifically designed to support the pathways I just described. I supported phase 1 and phase 2 liver detoxification. I supported my methylation cycle. I gave my body the nutrients it needed to keep those processing lanes open. And I added the DAO enzyme. You can take it in a supplement form. It's that vacuum cleaner. We can bring it in. I brought in B vitamins. I got in specific nutrients to help process liver support. I used different things. And my body processed everything efficiently, which is why I felt nothing and why I wasted $150 on alcoholic beverages in LA that weekend. Now, this is what this experience really confirmed for me. When you give the body what it actually needs to do its job, it can do it better. It can do the job better. It's not magic. It's biochem. It's biochemistry. Now, I want to say this clearly. What I did was personalized to me. It was based on my history, my genetics, my patterns. It's not a blanket recommendation. In fact, one of the supplements I use, a specific form of B12, is something that I just would be very cautious, because some people can be very sensitive to it and react in a negative way to it. So I'm just cautioning you. Just be careful. But methylation is important. We need to process it. We want to make sure we can look at the patterns and identify those patterns. And if you do react to them, we know what to do when you do react. So we want to introduce it correctly. Now, this is why context matters too. Your friend's protocol, what they do, is not your protocol. Just because they did it or you read about it somewhere doesn't mean that's the same protocol for you. That's why I'm very hesitant on saying, here, do this, 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 this. This is exactly what you need to do. You know why? Because it may work for Sandy, but it may not work for Becky. Okay, so your supplement list is not their list. We need to individualize it for you and teach you how to understand what's working and what's not working for you. Your body's forecast, it's unique for you. So what do you do with this information? First, I want to reframe how you think about your alcohol sensitivity. If you feel terrible after one glass of wine, it's not a character flaw. It doesn't make you bad. It's not a weakness. It's your body giving you information. It's data. It might be telling you that your liver needs more support, that it needs more love, that your histamine bucket is too full. We need to dump it. Or that your nutrient reserves are depleted. It's telling us something. Maybe your methylation pathways are under strain. Maybe we need to give the right cofactors to open up the pathway. Maybe we need to undo the traffic jams. But you need an expert to help you figure that out. Those are all the things that we can actually look at within functional medicine. Those are the things that can be addressed. So I just want you to think about the bigger picture. Alcohol is what I call a stressor multiplier. So it takes whatever's already happening in your body and amplifies it. It's a speaker. If you're in perimenopause and your hormones are already fluctuating, alcohol is going to make that more pronounced. If you're already running on empty and your cortisol is elevated, alcohol is going to disrupt your sleep even further. If histamine is already a problem, alcohol is pouring fuel on that fire. So understanding your current state, your actual internal forecast, I would say, matters more than any generic advice about cutting back or just drinking differently. And third, if you've noticed that your tolerance has genuinely changed, that what you used to handle without a second thought now just flattens you. You just can't tolerate it. Take it seriously, not with alarm, but take it with curiosity, because that shift often reflects something that's really happening in your underlying physiology, and that's a clue. We got to dig deeper. And they're exactly the kinds of patterns that we can investigate together. So looking back, I went to California expecting a fun girls trip, and yes, I got it. It was great. But I came home with something I didn't expect, a tangible, personal understanding of how much your body's, or my body's, I would say, internal environment is shaping my experience of everything. So it wasn't just alcohol, everything. The supplements weren't magic. The protocol wasn't magic. What was valuable was the knowledge, understanding what my body needed and why. And that's what I want for you too. Your symptoms, they're data. Your body is not randomly betraying you. There is a plan. There is a forecast. And with the right information, you get to start to read it. So if any of this resonates with you, if you've been wondering why alcohol hits you harder than it used to, or why your body seems to handle so much less than it used to across the board, well, it's worth paying attention to. This is where functional testing often really helps fill in the picture, gives us answers. And working with someone who can look at your full history, your nutrient status, your genetics, your current life load, that's where the real answers tend to come from. So, thanks for being here. If this episode was helpful, share it. Until next time, I'm Dr. Emily Wheeler. Your body's talking. Let's listen.